Well, good morning, everyone. This is Mike O'Malley here with a Hurricane Season 2020 update, part of the Hurricane Outlook and Discussion for July 28th, 2020, recorded around 11:21 a.m. Eastern Time. We have a lot to talk about today, so get comfortable and let's get on with the rodeo. So first of all, Potential Tropical Cyclone I, a newly formed potential tropical cyclone. This is not a tropical cyclone yet, so the National Hurricane Center, though, has high confidence that this will be a potential or a tropical cyclone, more than likely a tropical storm within the next 12 to 24 hours, and could bring impacts. Thus, the need for potential tropical cyclones. This product was first introduced in 2016 and was used in 2016 with a few storms and in 2017. It's nice to see that they still use this product because in recent years they haven't been using this as much, but it's still nice to see them using it. But regardless, this is a potential tropical cyclone. This is not right now a tropical storm, but maximum sustained winds are of tropical storm strength with pressure of about 1,007 millibars. Now, for you folks down here in the far Antilles here, Trinidad and Tobago, a couple of things to point out here. You guys are too far north of the system to be directly impacted. Now, if there does happen to be a center reformation further to the south and west here that could track a little bit like that, still, yes, this is a big system, but main concerns for this area, if that does happen, would be just some heavy rainfall and, obviously mudslides, flooding potential is always a probability, but I think you guys are going to be okay, and there's not going to be any real impacts to those islands. My problem and concern is for the greater Antilles northward right here through just north of Barbados, all the way up into Puerto Rico and Hispaniola, St. Croix. This is going to be a problem. You notice here within the next about 24 to 36 hours, the Hurricane Center expects us to go from a potential tropical cyclone into an actual bona fide tropical cyclone here, crossing near or just over Puerto Rico and Hispaniola in the Dominican Republic, eventually continuing into the Bahamas and then making landfall here eventually in Florida. Now, there's a couple of things that we need to point out with this, and we will get those straightened out here in just a second. Again, the official forecast intensity has us making landfall about 60 to 65 miles per hour here in the South Florida area, and it could be stronger or weaker. So there's a lot of things we need to talk about today, and we will jump right into it. So first of all, taking a look here at the perspective here from the visible satellite from tropicaltidbits.com. A couple of things that we need to point out here. First of all, this is a large, broad envelope of energy right here. And if we switch this to the true color here, again from tropicaltidbits.com, again, you can see there's a large spin in this area, the large envelope of energy here. You notice a large wave axis that's kind of tilted over like this. And we've been talking about this over the last few days, that this wave axis is going to be important for when tropical cyclone genesis can occur. However, there's now some caveats to this. First of all, you notice how we have two lobes of energy out here, and if we switch this to a graphic I made this morning, this is from an earlier satellite perspective, but it puts this nicely. A very broad circulation is enveloped within this area, but we have a stronger southwest area of convection out here, and we can see that on the visible satellite that this is a stronger envelope of energy here approaching Barbados and the Lesser Antilles. Now, if we do get a center reformation that occurs right in through here, that could promote a more southerly and westerly track that takes it up like that. So there's a lot of caveats to where this ends up developing. And again, the official Hurricane Center forecast has us to the north, and we can actually quickly pull up the National Hurricane Center page here and have this, let's see, the update statement. So that they did issue, the government of the Dominican Republic now has issued a tropical storm watch for the Dominican Republic from Cabo, I don't even know how to pronounce that, so I'm not going to even try, to the northern border of Haiti. So there is a couple of things we need to point out here. First of all, that the official lat long is 13.8, and that is a little, that's not really what we're seeing. 13.8 would probably be somewhere right in about here-ish. This is probably a little bit to the south, so there's not a really well-defined center of circulation. This is making it very hard on the forecast models as we go forward. And speaking of the forecast models, this is for PTC 9, Potential Tropical Cyclone 9. The forecast models here, again, this is where it's initialized right here. But again, it could be anywhere within this larger envelope of energy in here. That center could easily reform further to the south. Again, 13.8 would probably put it somewhere right in about here. So it's just sitting probably a little bit within the northern end of this envelope of energy and vorticity out here. And we'll take a look at that here in a minute. But again, that has a general west-northwest track, and there's a couple of caveats here. First of all, you notice how the official Hurricane Center forecast takes this pretty much right into the islands and right over Puerto Rico. Now, the official track forecast, or the spaghetti models, basically, as of this morning, have a wide range of possibilities out here by hour 48. And there's significant uncertainty because if this does track on a more westernly track here over the next couple of days, this will have a better shot at making land impacts directly to Puerto Rico and Hispaniola in the Dominican Republic as this begins to move over the islands. Again, this is Barbados right here. This is Trinidad and Tobago, St. Lucia, the Grenadines. So for you folks down here, the impacts are going to be rather minimal. Now, again, the further north you get of Barbados, there's going to be more significant impacts the closer to the system you get, because this is a fairly large system, and thus it's creating a large envelope of possibilities with impacts, rain, and wind. So Puerto Rico, the Northern Antilles, Hispaniola is likely to see some impacts, but what impacts is the big question right now, because you notice here, if this tracks a little bit to the north of the islands, almost like a Dorian did, or Irma, in 2017, you notice how, Irma came up here. It was, very close to Puerto Rico, but it passed to the north of there. And this is another instance that the short-term trends are all so important now, forecasting what's going to happen beyond 96 and 120 hours, because that now greatly depicts the range for uncertainty with the intensity forecasting, which is rather concerning, at least on the ships of the RI potential, has it going off the charts in terms of rapid intensification. Now, we don't expect that, but you never say never in the tropics. And one of the things we have to really pay attention to is whether or not this area of convection consolidates here. Does it move north of the islands here, or does it move right over the islands, or somewhat of a middle blend between both, where it moves very close to the islands but not over the islands? And if that happens, there could be some consequences down the road in terms of intensity, which is very hard to speculate right now. Now, the official intensity forecast guidance models has this at a tropical storm intensity by the first hour, which is right now. And that is tropical storm force winds. It lacks a well-defined center to be classified a tropical storm currently, but this is producing tropical storm force winds. But the winds don't necessarily count in the classification if it doesn't have a closed center. We'll get a better understanding when aircraft reconnaissance and the hurricane hunters go out later this afternoon, right around 2 Eastern or 18 Zulu. Now, again, you notice how the intensity trends are pretty modest and bullish on intensification. The official National Hurricane Center forecast does call for intensification up to about 50 knots or 60 miles per hour. And they do note that it could be stronger or it could be weaker. And you notice that the ships, the statistical dynamical model, which is the ships model, has this intensifying into a hurricane with the LGEM, the IVCN, which is the intensity consensus, the HWAR, the icon almost brings us to hurricane intensity. So most models show gradual organization and strengthening throughout the next 12 to 48 and 60 hours. After that time, though, it is going to be harder to depict where this ends up exactly. And right now, this is the European ensemble forecast from weathernerds.org site here. It's a fantastical website, especially for the ensemble tracks. But you notice where our system is right now. It's sitting roughly about here. And there's a lot of great uncertainty because how quick this actually organizes and intensifies is going to matter immensely in the even the short term, but the long term impacts are going to matter immensely. We're not going to focus out here beyond about 120 days. So right now, I'm not focused about any of this right here. We're focused about the next about 5 days or so because that's the most logical and the best skill that we have remains within 5 days. So do not look out here past 5 days or so. But you notice in the short term how there is some west-northwest tracks here, relatively weak in this area. The Euro ensembles have this, at about 30 to maybe 40 knots or so. And again, we're seeing already with maximum sustained winds of 35 knots or 40 miles per hour, putting it, pretty close. That's about 35 knots is right there. You notice after we pass the islands, this starts to intensify with the stronger tracks making a bend closer, similar to Dorian, almost making it a, not intensity-wise, but track-wise, a similar scenario to the track of Dorian, where it takes it much out like that and takes it away. Obviously, Dorian, came in through like there, so, that's not really a concern, but in terms of staying off the Florida coast, once this moved, up, it kind of did something like that. And that is a real possibility that if this is a stronger system, that could end up happening. Immensely, though, on the UK Met models, the UK is all over the place and doesn't really know what it really wants to predict. But at the gradual trend, the mean ensembles, which is the black line, has us staying just north of Puerto Rico and Hispaniola in the Dominican Republic, while the stronger intensity models, you notice, are now starting to get to the right of this mean ensemble track, while the weaker systems stay to the left of the intensity or to the mean ensemble track. So that has big implications going forward. And if we take a look at one of the reasons why, this is from tropicaltidbits.com. Taking a look here at the GFS forecast, about 500 millibars. This is 18,400 feet in the atmosphere, the geopotential height. And basically what you're looking at, the reds and dark reds here are indicative of your higher pressures, and conversely, your greens and yellows are lower pressures. And this is the initialization. We're about 7 a.m. this morning, and you notice here we have a fairly substantial ridge of high pressure right here. That's kind of keeping this storm from just being advected northward. Plus, a weaker system is more suppressed to the south as it feels the lower level trade winds in the atmosphere. Over the next couple of days or so, this is by hour 42, you notice the GFS largely loses this envelope of energy. It has just a broad wave axis located in through here, but look what's happening. First of all, we back this out here. The ridge of high pressure is shifting a little bit more towards the west here. We have this big envelope of ridge that's keeping this system very suppressed to the south, but there is some envelope of energy and some way that this does move and just sneak to the east of Puerto Rico. That is still a very significant possibility, but the GFS takes us right over Puerto Rico, and by 84 hours here on the GFS, about 1,006 millibars. Now look, you don't have your significant reds anymore, but your outline in the ridge is roughly located right about there, and now you start to have an energy of shortwave troughiness coming through here, and this is very crucial. First of all, the shortwave trough located in position somewhere right about here is moving gradually to the east. What that's doing is gradually eroding this ridge of high pressure and shifting it further west and eroding that ridge. So by hour 144 and then eventually at the 5-day cycle, here it is positioned right now near the Bahamas, and a weaker system again goes further west while a stronger system goes further north. This is our shortwave trough now approaching the central United States and the Midwest. your first kind of short wave moves off here into the northern latitudes. That erodes parts of this ridge right here while you try to get some rebuilding back in of this ridge, but you get a relentless surge from the second trough here, shortwave trough, that moves to the east here, which is gradually going to erode this trough. Now, the European model on this particular run is much weaker. This is the 0Z run and crosses right over, Puerto Rico. Again, this ridge is a little bit stronger here on this run, which is particularly forcing this further to the west, given the fact that we have a weaker system, eventually over Hispaniola and in the Dominican Republic. And if that happens, this virtually survives this virtually leaves little chance of survival, because the mountains of Hispaniola and Dominican Republic are very tall, and thus it can create a disruption in the lower level of vorticity, and that significantly can disrupt the core of any tropical cyclone, especially a weak one, moving through that area. By hour 96 and then 120, this is approaching the Florida Keys as a very weak system. Again, that still shows that there is a troughiness in through here, but that ridge of high pressure is a little bit stronger with a weaker system digging it more west, potentially even getting in to the Gulf of Mexico, but it's too far to speculate. Right now, again, the official track forecast has us moving up into Puerto Rico, just sneaking by Hispaniola in the Dominican Republic, moving into the Bahamas by day 4, and then eventually by days 4 and 5, this is now approaching Florida and making landfall and coming right up the coast of Florida. So there is considerable uncertainty in terms of what's going to happen here in the long run, and that has significant implications going forward. Again, the official track forecast from the National Hurricane Center by 8 a.m. Sunday has this making landfall as a tropical cyclone just north of Miami and moving up the spine like that. But again, you notice the cone encompasses the Grand Bahama Island, Nassau, Marsh Harbor, some of those areas that were hit very hard last year. You guys have to monitor this. If you live in the Florida Keys, you have to start monitoring. Even into the Gulf of Mexico, there is an outlier chance that could still happen, but the official forecast doesn't really see that. And again, most models call for gradual intensification over the next few days into a tropical storm, and possibly an upper end tropical storm by the time it reaches the Bahamas and Florida. It is too soon to determine what, if any, impacts will occur for the Bahamas and Florida here over the next few days or so, but the main impacts right now throughout the next few days are going to be confined to Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, the Dominican Republic, and the northern Lesser Antilles over the next few days or so. All right. Otherwise than that, it is pretty quiet out here in the tropics. Again, our main concern now is going to be Potential Tropical Cyclone 9, recently designated as of 11 o'clock Eastern Time this morning by the National Hurricane Center. Of course, we will keep on top of this throughout the next few days. 2 video updates a day now starting, because we have impacts to land immediately beginning to start occurring. All right. Hope you all have a great rest of your morning and early afternoon. Of course, I will be back later this afternoon with another update from the National Hurricane Center and giving all my thoughts and opinions on it. All right. Hope you all have a great rest of your morning and early afternoon. I'll see you guys back here around 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Stay safe, everyone, and I'll see you around 3 this afternoon.